What is up, guys? Welcome to JS Racing. My name is Jason. I'm going to be disassembling my ZR28, so I thought might as well do a build video. So the ZR28 is an engine that I've been working on for quite a long time, and I did post a ZR28 build like I think a year or 2 years ago, but at that time, to be honest, I really didn't think that the build was really deserving of the ZR28 model number, because for us, the ZR16, 22, whatever, all these numbers are actually supposed to coincide with the lowest horsepower that the engine is supposed to be able to produce. So the ZR28 is, supposed to produce 28 horsepower at least. But at that time, in all honesty, I'm pretty sure that it was only about doing, 22 or 23, something like that. So it's really nowhere near. But right now we have a sort of a finalized build, because I've just done a dyno run with this build, and it's basically at 27.5. Close enough, because there are a couple more tweaks that I can be doing or adding. Well, I will be adding to actually push it over the 28 mark. So I'm guessing in its final form, it will be able to do at least 32. So anyway, let me just take this apart real quick, and I'll show you guys what the insides look like. So let's go. All right, so I've now disassembled the entire engine. So let's look at the parts one by one. Let's start with the carburetor, because it has to do with the model number as well. So when we named ZR28, we actually had two more criteria, and other than just the 28 horsepower. We wanted to use a 28 millimeter carburetor, and also a cylinder head with a 28 millimeter valve. So that's what we did. We're now using a Nibi flat slide 28 millimeter, so PWK 28 carburetor. This thing is really powerful. If you just slightly touch the throttle, this thing would just go. So Nibi is really good. So that's what we use for the carburetor. Now let's go to the crankcase. So now we have shifted our crankcase to this particular version. So if you just look at the crankcase like this, there really aren't any very obvious differences. I mean, the only exception is that they have all these built-in guides for the airflow coming from the fan on the flywheel. But the biggest difference for this crankcase is that the cylinder is actually slightly longer. So it actually has a displacement of 242 cc. So that also allows us to use a much bigger stroke crankshaft, and that is a 59 millimeter crankshaft. All the stock, Jigs 200s, they use a 54, but a 59 gives you a lot more torque throughout the entire RPM range. So this is a must-have to be able to build a higher horsepower engine. So that's what we're using. Now the flywheel we're using is actually pretty standard. It's actually the cheaper model as well. It is a I wouldn't say billet, but it is one piece. It's not the stock one. It's a lot lighter, but it doesn't have a specially tuned ignition. We're still using the stock ignition timing, which is 10.5 degrees. So I don't know how that translates, but yeah, it's a stock ignition. We have tested 4 degrees advanced. It does do crazy things. Like we tested it with our junior ZR12 engine. It went from 13.6 to 21 something horsepower. It's absolutely insane. And we've run it on the track many times. It does give the top end a lot more horsepower. It's able to reach much higher top speed. But the problem with the advanced timing is it makes the engine extremely hot, and that's actually quite dangerous, because if it overheats, it can cause a lot of problems. So with this 28 build, we are using stock, and that also means that if we want to push the horsepower over the 27.5 horsepower mark, it's easy. We just need to adjust the timing, and it will be absolutely insane. So that's the crankcase. So It's a much bigger displacement, and that is a very big reason why we're able to reach that higher horsepower. So another thing that is very special about this build is the cylinder head. We're now using a very different cylinder head. This one has a much bigger intake and also exhaust, and also it's been reinforced. Everything's a lot thicker, and you can also tell the shape of it is very different. The combustion chamber is a lot smaller, more shallower. The valves are bigger, so that's a 28, 25, I think. And the combustion chamber, I think, is about 16.5 cc as opposed to the standard 22. So this gives a lot higher compression ratio. So that is the cylinder head. I'll come back to it. There are two more things that's installed on the cylinder head that is very crucial to the increased horsepower. So I'll get back to that a bit later. So another thing that we use to increase the compression ratio is actually the connecting rod and a different piston. So compared to the stock piston, this is about 1 to 1.5 millimeter higher. So it's able to pretty much go flush with the top of the cylinder on the crankcase. And another thing about the connecting rod is this is also slightly longer than stock connecting rod, and it's also a bit different. The reason why I'm not using like billet connecting rods is I just can't get my hands on them, but these work very well as well. These are much more reinforced. These are much stronger. These are actually used to convert petrol engines into diesel engines. So it's able to withstand compression ratios of up to 19 to 20 to 1. So these are very, very strong connecting rods, and we've been using them the whole time. They have not failed us unless we've done something stupid. And it failed me 3 times because I did something stupid, like forgot to put engine oil in, or I forgot to torque it down or whatever. So it's all because of my fault, stupid mistakes. But these connecting rods, they are cheap, they are low cost, but they do work very well. And they've been able to put up with some really crazy horsepower without failing at all. Provided that, you know, you run in the engine properly. And we do use these with like filtration system as well. So the engine oil is a lot cleaner. So that also contributes to the longer lifespan of these connecting rods. But anyhow, these are, you know, great and they work very well. So yeah, it hasn't failed us at all. So anyway, so thicker connecting rod and also the piston. So finishing off the crankcase is the camshaft. And we were able to source a very unique camshaft because with this particular crankcase, there is a huge problem with your selection of camshafts. So it's very particular with what camshaft it can use. And if you use these ones, like with the, what do you call it, the valve release sort of counterweight, if you use a thick one like this, it will hit the cylinder and the engine would just seize, it would just break. So we had to find ones that are this thin, you know, so that it will not hit the cylinder. So that's the first thing that is very special about this camshaft. And the second thing is it does have a very high lift. I'm just going to measure it real quick for you. So it has a lift of 6.9 millimeters. So stock camshafts usually have a lift of 5.8. So this one is a lot higher already, but we pushed the lift even higher with a very expensive part that has to be the most expensive part that I've ever spent on a kart engine, and that is these Black Venom gauge roller rockers. These are 1.2 ratios. I'm pretty sure that these are very famous within the circle. These are absolutely amazing, and yeah, they have helped us push the engine past the I don't know, the 25, 26 horsepower mark. These have helped us increase the lift by a significant amount, thus increasing the amount of you know, fuel and air going into the combustion chamber. So yeah, these are crazy. And but with the higher lift, we also had to have much higher powered springs. So these valve springs are a lot thicker. I don't know if you can see it, but the good thing is these valve springs, these valves, these retainers, and all the split keepers, they all came with this particular cylinder head already installed. So yeah, I mean, we didn't have to worry about, you know, getting the wrong springs for the valve. So that was great. And other crucial component for this particular build is the spark plug. So this is dual iridium spark plug. So both the ground strap and the terminal in the middle are iridium or iridium coating, whatever it may be. But yeah, it does help with increasing the horsepower as well. So this spark plug is a very important part of the build as well. You can try the NGK, I think HX. It's also iridium as well. So that one also gives the same amount of increase to the horsepower. This one is a different brand. It's a lot cheaper, but it still works very well. So yeah, that's the cylinder head in its completion. So yeah. But with that particular cylinder head, as I mentioned, the shape of the intake is a bit different. So what I had to do was change the design of the intake manifold, because before it looked like this. So it's like a D shape, right? Now it's a now it's a round shape, and also it looks more like the carburetor side. So I had to change, 3D print a different version of the intake manifold. And this one also has a much larger channel, so it does drive a lot more fuel and air mixture in there. So this one is a lot better. So yeah, you can tell already, you know, from the size difference. Yeah, so that's another specially 3D printed version of the intake manifold, and this works perfectly. So lastly is, if you are using these special roller rockers, you need to make sure that your push rods are a bit longer. So these are 140 millimeters. The stock length is 134. So you have to use much longer ones to ensure that the rockers, well, the tappets are able to push the rockers. So yeah, that's another part. Very important part. And the last one is a billet cover for the cylinder head. This one doesn't really do anything special, except that I installed a one-way valve onto it. So yeah, it shouldn't spill oil. But when we did do the dyno run, it sort of had a little bit of splash, but it wasn't that bad. So yeah, this is quite nice to use as well. So yeah, I highly recommend it. So another important part is the ignition coil. This one is rated at 10,000 RPM, but it's not one of those really high-end special coils. This one is just, you know, a bit thicker in the middle. I don't know what's the difference, to be honest, but this one is rated for 10,000. Before we did use like stock coils, and those actually sometimes malfunction, and it will actually limit your RPM to 5,000, which is really weird. So this one doesn't do that, and yeah, it's able to reach up to 10,000. So when we did the dyno run, I think I pushed it to about 7,500. I'm pretty sure it can go a bit higher, but yeah, it was scary enough for me, because compared to the other engines when we were doing the dyno, this one reached top RPM really quickly. So that was really scary. So yeah, it came out as 27.5 horsepower. Now, there are two things that I would add to this build to push the horsepower beyond 27.5 is the billet case cover that we have created. So the reason why I haven't done it yet is because the crankshaft, currently the only one that we have, does not have the oil channel drilled into it. So it does not drive oil into the connecting rod crankshaft area. So it doesn't really help with the lubrication. So I just didn't bother installing the billet case cover. But by itself, it does add to the strength to the crankcase as well. This is a very strong, very thick billet cover. So yeah, it does have like the cage needle cage bearing for the camshaft as well, and it does use a much bigger crankshaft bearing. So anyway, I should be getting the new crankshaft very soon. So once I have that, I will be able to push the system to beyond 30 horsepower, probably 31, 32, including the advanced timing. So the advanced timing would be the second thing that I would try as well. But right now, in its current form, I'm pretty happy with the performance already. So I will be doing a detail on the engine before I put it on the track, but either way, I'm pretty happy with the performance. One final thing that I forgot to mention was these tappets. These are DLC coated tappets. So I don't know if you can tell from the camera, but these have been used for, I don't know, 10, 20 hours. And there's not even a scratch on it. These are very, very good, very scratch resistant. So we are using these for both the ZR22 and ZR28 because they are higher performance, and these last really, really long. So I really highly recommend these. These are called DLC coated tappets. So yeah, try them out. So now that we've seen the build, let's have a look at the power curve. All right, apologies for the crappy audio because I forgot to bring my wireless microphone, and I'm currently on a business trip still, and I'm in the hotel room, so I'm gonna have to use the MacBook's internal microphone to record this. I'll try to treat the audio as best as I can. Anyhow, so let's look at the power curve. If you look at the dotted line, that is the motor's horsepower curve. So you can see that it's a very steady increase from 2,500 all the way to 7,500 RPM. The reason being is the torque of the engine is actually quite stable. So if you look at 3,500 all the way to 7,000, it's almost a straight line with a slight dip from 7,000 to 7,500 RPM. But if you look at the top, basically the top horsepower is calculated at 7,216 RPM at 27.5 horsepower. So it's a fairly high-powered engine, but the torque is not particularly high because we've had different builds with 44 Newton meters of torque, but right now the highest torque this engine is able to do is only about 32.9. But at least it's a fairly stable sort of torque, so it's able to translate to a much higher horsepower and higher RPM. Now let's have a look at the acceleration. So I've pulled a ZR12 dyno run just to compare it with the ZR28 dyno run, and you can tell from the curve, the blue one is the 12 and the black one is the ZR28. The bottom is the time that it took to go from 0 to all the way the top, like 7,680 RPM. If you look at the top, it took only about 5.53 seconds to reach that with the ZR28. And for the ZR12, it took the engine 6.3 seconds to reach only 7,572. So that's a very quick amount of acceleration. That's close to 1 second quicker. So if you translate it to on-track performance, you are much quicker on the corner exit and you're able to reach a much higher top speed much sooner. So yeah, I mean, this engine is pretty crazy. I mean, even when I was just doing the dyno run, when I was pulling on the throttle, we could tell that the engine was just accelerating the flywheel just so much quicker. So I'm quite happy with the performance. So I'm quite interested to see just how crazy it's gonna be when we add the advanced timing and also the filtration lubrication system. So hopefully we'll be able to see some crazier power curve. But anyway, so that's it for the engine build video. So yeah, I mean, if you guys have any suggestions, let me know. And that's it for this video. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.